Naturally, the human experience is one that looks out into a world from its singular stance and based on the movement of experience through encounters and the processing of each encounter, whether that's an encounter with a person, a place or a thing. There's an emotional and psychological, mental response to the way in which we experience the world. So it's natural we would see ourselves as an independent and separate subject relating to apparent other separate objects, the subject-object relationship. This, coupled with our cultural conditioning, our familial conditioning, our schooling, and our anthropological movement, the time frame in which we're born in history and what the morality of the age we live in enables. We develop an apparent measuring scale for the nature of the experiences, from good to bad, like and dislike, fashionable, unfashionable. And there's a sort of parameter from misery at the very sparse and broken and lonely end of the human experience to ecstasy at the successful and flourishing and blissed and enlightened even sense of the human experience. So in between these two polarities, most of us generally try and attain balance in the middle somewhere by the governance and the control of what influences our life externally in order to experience that sense of peace, balance and happiness on the inside of our life. And so we encounter things we like, so we covet, seek and design ways in which we can experience once more or continue to experience or recapture the experience of positive, what we consider independently, individually, positive and helpful experiences. And there'll be a mix in how we interpret those based on our shadow side, all that prior conditioning, and also on, the side of the individual that complies culturally, emotionally, psychologically to, how they experience the world. Basically, each person evaluates what they experience based on how they see themselves and their existence at the time. It's apparent in that for us and for many, and when we look at the human animal objectively, that there is an ever-present sense of seeking and looking, whether it is to recapture, whether it is to renew, or whether it is to find for the first time something. And of course, the need to secure something is a symbol for the sense that there is an absence of it. If we have something, why would we look for it? For many, there's an expression of it feels like there's something missing or a lack from here, from this subjective view of objective reality. And so we seek something that often we're not quite sure what that is. Most of us would say we would be seeking love, companionship, meaning, purpose, definition, possession, sustenance, economic stability. And we find objects, people, places and things that bring about that sense of having attained what was lacking, what seemed to be missing. And let's consider our relationships. The human animal is apparently and seemingly a social creature, a group creature. Though we like our times alone and times out and breaks from the usual parameters of our lives, holidays, we like to travel. Essentially, we are social creatures. Rare is a human animal that, left completely to their own devices, flourishes to the fullest measure. Yet what we find is that on attaining the object of our desire, the new partner, the new car, the new house, the next child, the new job, the new identity, the new role, the new location, the new material object, computer, they all seem to work for a while. That sense of lack is evaporated by the presence of the new experience. Underlying the capturing of the object is the experience of the object. So the object on the outside brings about an emotional, psychological and spiritual response on the inside, and temporarily a sense of completion is known. It's known as a state in which emotional fluidity, psychological eminence, and simply put, balance and happiness and peace are known as objective states, temporary states. At the core of the experience of the new, whatever that might be, is a sense of relief as well at having seemingly found this apparent object. How many people desire so much to be in relationships? And the beautiful, poetic insanity of the falling in love, the romantic models of love. So captivating, very alluring. Some months later, when sacrificial love, depth love, putting the other person's needs before ours, when a deeper model of servant-heartedness and offering is asked of us, even in our most intimate relationships, how often human beings say, this isn't working, or we simply bail on the agreement. And objective states of love are like this. They bring about a sense of relief at first. They bring about a change in consciousness, an adaptation of consciousness, a state other than the one prior to attaining the object is brought about. So there's a movement, a change, an apparent change. Human beings are very good at calling this movement, this slight movement of change, total change, radical change, complete change, when in fact it's simply a movement from one state to the next. And having left a state to arrive in a different state, having been single, now enjoying the effervescent romantic throes of a new relationship to a person or anything, a sense of relief is born out of the experience of the new, simply because it's a different experience to that which preceded it, as we've said. But the sense of relief in the experience can be taken for an answer, the answer. This is it. Finally, this is it. We could say from an absolute point of view that if it's an it, it's probably not it. Because an it is defined by a singular, objective phenomena. Whether it's a feeling, it's an it. Whether it's a person, it's an it. Whether it's a new identity, it's an it. If it's an object, it can be replaced by other objects to the subject. And this movement colours our world as we vie for different objects, individually, familiarly. Let's look at the object of identity. We individually strive to ensure that our identity has meaning, describes who we are back to us, describes who we are back to those that we live with, describes who we are to those we work with. We vote this way, we love that way, we shop this way, and we weep that way. Our structures, our local authorities and our political structures are filled with individuals seeking happiness as objects in roles that speak to them. Our world is built on this subject-object relationship. So here, setting aside the thinking mind, the thought infrastructure, our models and our concepts, language, let's unpack all of these. Our language, the idea that there's a personality, an identity, the past, the future, let's drop all of these. We're unpacking. Our wounds, our promises, our plans. Let's sink into and out of, same thing really, the very breath. See all of that which has been described evaporate like mists. And let's arrive in the divine emptiness of simply being. Loosing the grip of the personhood. that's absent ourselves from objects, all objects, everything listed, from possession to person, to identity. Let's just rest as and in breath. And awareness, the awareness in which breath moves in and out, and which the pauses, apparent pauses at the top and the bottom of the breathing structure of the body are known. So let's move prior to simply breathing, simply being, and abide. Where there are no things, nothing, not one single object, and no demands for subjectivity. There just is. As profoundly ordinary, exquisitely simple. That which is sought in all objective relationships, that which every activity of the human animal, individually, familiarly, in the communities and in our structures and our hierarchies, every single person seeks. The ever-present absent state, or the stateless state, in which and as which all activity and experience comes and goes. It is the peace that passes all understanding. Understanding occurs in the mind through mental inquiry, through all seeking. All effort seeks to bring about understanding. When understanding is known, seeking comes to an end. And our predicament is that we seek the end of seeking and the end of the seeker as the seeker. And so soon the seeker seeks again, fearing its own demise. We are fidgets, spinning. And we cannot seek something we have not at one time known. How have we known absolute peace, tranquility, beauty, love, art? Well, the seeking overlooks this one eternal, infinite. Consciousness. So the sense of lack creates the seeking that moves us away from that which is sought. Objective sanctuary is temporarily found, and the relief brings about the thought that this new is the answer. And soon, the answer turns out to be sensed as incorrect, not total. And so the sense of lack returns. The seeking returns. And so it goes. The idea of the person, the seeker, who seeks the identity, the activity, the clamours for meaning, definition, purpose, importance of our existence. All these concepts rise and fall, not only in, but as a movement of the very thing that is sought. The simple consideration that the search for something moves out of a known everything ultimately leads us to the divine nothing. We have been knocking on the door, which when opened, we realized we are on the inside. We have been trying to find a way home and discovered we haven't left. We have been looking and we have realized what we were looking for is what's looking. Here we are. Where wholeness, capital W, is a starting point out of which flourishes and flourishes and flourishes. That which collapses into its own flourishing. I am is the way. I am is the truth. I am is the life. This is the way.